Behind you, though, I see the Wicked Witch from The Wizard of Oz. It's obviously we've been covering it on the channel here. Is there anything Masonic or occult symbolism there that we should be on the lookout as we watch these films?
Do you have 30 hours?
I mean, if you want, I got it.
No. There is this is by far and away the most fascinating thing I've ever discovered in my life. There is some sort of Aleister Crowley death curse revolving around this movie that is linked through his gematria. And it is by far and away the most fascinating thing I've ever seen in my life. I cannot account for it. It is by far and away the craziest thing I've ever looked at. It is the subject of my next two books that I'm doing in Cinema Symbolism 4, and I'm doing a book called Cinema Symbolism Oz. In a nutshell, in my past books, what I've talked about is the political allegories in The Wizard of Oz, and the like sort of Gnostic and Kabbalistic imagery in The Wizard of Oz. The guy who wrote it was L. Frank Baum, who was a member of Madame Blavatsky's Theosophy movement. So the story is overloaded with all sort of Gnostic, Kabbalistic themes. I mean, if you want to see sort of the prototype of The Wizard of Oz, go back to Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, because those two stories run very, very parallel. But one of the things that is so unique about this, and again, I started talking about it on a couple of shows. I backed off of it. Is because people have been emailing me saying, "Oh, where can I read about this?" So I've toned it down. I don't mind giving a preview of it, but in my next book, which I'm working on, which I actually am pleased to announce, I have a few more chapters to write. I'm documenting this Aleister Crowley gematria, this numeric nexus that Crowley created for the New Age, this Aeon of Horus, and how we will recognize it. And it's done through a system of numbers that Crowley creates in 1910. This is a few years after the book is written. Of course, this is years before the movie comes out. But what is so amazing about Crowley's system of numbers is, unbeknownst to him, because there's no knowledge of this, it syncs with The Wizard of Oz. And it is by far and away one of the most astounding things I've ever seen. And when I first started noticing this, I mean, my initial reaction was, this has to be a coincidence. I mean, this has to be the most eerie coincidence I've ever seen. But you will see it, these same sequencing numbers turning up on all these tragedies, whether it's 9/11 or the Kennedy assassination or the death of Princess Diana. There is this unbelievable nexus with Crowley and these numbers that he created. I can't account for it other than it seems to prove the existence of the supernatural. I believe it does. So again, this is the purview of my next book, Cinema Symbolism 4, which I'm working on right now. I have touched on The Wizard of Oz before. It's by far and away, I mean, out of all the Hollywood movies, I mean, it's probably by far and away the most influential. I mean, it has to be up there, at least in the top three. I mean, you will find the thumbprints, the fingerprints of Wizard of Oz on movies that you may not have anticipated. I mean, we get into with the movie itself, and again, this goes back to Baum's story with just the Gnostic, Kabbalistic themes, the political allegories. That's all good and fine. But then, if you just look at the movie's influence, I mean, you could certainly see it in things like Suspiria with 1977 with Dario Argento, where you have this young woman who is Dorothy traveling to this strange land where she encounters eccentric people who ultimately help her defeat a wicked witch. Back to the Future, Marty McFly travels back in time to a strange land where he meets doppelgangers of people that he knows from his world, only to wake up in his bed not knowing if it was a dream or not. When Marty goes back to 1955, what is the first thing that he encounters? A scarecrow, right? Mirroring Dorothy's first companion. Apocalypse Now, Francis Ford Coppola, where Martin Sheen's character starts off in the land of Oz. It actually opens in the land of Oz. And then he meets these eccentric characters along the way that help him to go and defeat the green-skinned Colonel Kurtz, who is both the green-skinned wizard and the green-skinned witch. So you will see the thumbprints of the Wizard of Oz over many, many movies. But no, it is by far and away taking center stage, and this will be something that I will be talking about once this new book comes out. This Crowley New Age nexus to the Wizard of Oz and this sequence of numbers. It's really, really astounding.
Yeah, no, definitely let us know when that comes out. Like I said, we've started what we've been calling our journey down the yellow brick road as we cover all the major Wizard of Oz movies, I should say. Um, so yeah, let us know when that comes out. We'll read it, review it on the channel, talk to you about
Yeah,
it because that's pretty
absolutely.
Mhm.
interesting.
That does
Absolutely. Like I said, I was doing a little podcasting about it, but I kind of pulled back a little bit because people were actually emailing saying, "Oh, where can I find this?" And I thought, well, let me just give a preview of it and do a little, maybe a teaser. Um, Once the book is out, yeah, then I'll be definitely coming back on and we can talk about it ad nauseum. No problem.
perfect.
Sweet, yeah, no, that's awesome. I know even like David Lynch, big inspiration was Wizard of Oz. They
Oh
made a
yeah.
whole documentary about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, The Wizard of Oz is all over Lynch's works. I mean, you'll find it in. I mean, the one is really the one with Nicolas Cage, Wild at Heart. I mean, there it's pretty obvious. You'll see it in Mulholland Drive with Winkies. Certainly, Twin Peaks. You'll see references to this. Yeah, I mean, you'll find all sorts of Wizard of Oz references. All over the place in Lynch's films, without question.
Yeah, and see now that you mentioned Nick Cage again, it makes me wonder why he keeps picking Masonic themed movies. Like I wonder.
Is it him picking it, or is he the one that's just like it's revolving around him unknowingly?
Well,
Right?
there is something that I do talk about in my books where I call it occult casting, um, where clearly movie makers are like hiring an actor or an actress to put them in the movie to sort of bring their baggage in from another movie. It works on a subconscious level. It sort of is a transfer, and I call it like a pop culture valence, where it's sort of transferring the movie's energy, the actor's energy from another movie and placing it into the movie that they are currently starring in. Uh, Without getting too specific, Jeff Goldblum as the Wizard of Oz in Wicked is clearly drawing off of his appearance as the chaos theoretician Ian Malcolm in Jurassic Park. That is irrefutable. You will see things. I'm trying to think. One of the most obvious ones is Max von Sydow in the first Star Wars movie. This was in the one episode 7 that they just did. Which one was it? What was the
Force Awakens.
subtitle? Yeah, The Force Awakens, where Max von Sydow is at the very beginning of it, and he's on the desert planet, and he confronts the Dark Evil Lord and gets struck down. That is clearly designed to invoke in your subconscious mind 2 Max von Sydow movies where he does the same thing. Of course, the first is The Exorcist, where he starts off on the desert and he confronts the Dark Evil Lord and winds up getting killed. The statue of Pazuzu in the desert. And then the other one is Dune, where he is also on the desert planet, confronts the Dark Evil Lord, the Harkonnens, Baron Harkonnen, and of course winds up dead. Same thing here. He starts on the desert planet, confronts the Dark Evil Lord, and winds up dead. So, what is that doing on a subconscious level? According to people like Carl Jung, what that would do is that is transferring the evil of the Exorcist, Pazuzu, and of the Harkonnens and transplanting it on a very latent subconscious level into the First Order and Kylo Ren. It's a very clever trick, a very clever example of cinematic sorcery and how these guys work. Um, so I call it occult casting. It's really an art of memory mnemonic. And again, these guys are experts at what they do. And that's, again, one of the ways they can manipulate your subconscious mind to draw in other movies and other create what I call, like I said, a pop culture valence, as it were. So no, it does happen. One of the things I'll mention, I'll just give a tease on this because I just mentioned Wicked. I was just on another show and I mentioned this, actually it was last week. Was one of the things to keep your eyes peeled for. When you watch The Wizard of Oz, this is, of course, 1939, keep your eyes peeled for the Fibonacci spiral. This is, of course, the spiral that starts the Yellow Brick Road. And at the very beginning, when the Wicked Witch is killed and they go for her ruby slippers, her feet curl up and then turn into the spiral, then disappear underneath the farmhouse. That's the Fibonacci spiral, the Fibonacci sequence that signifies spiritual growth and development. And of course, that's what the whole Wizard of Oz movie is about. It's about Dorothy Gale going on this Gnostic quest for her to know herself. Where, of course, she winds up in Emerald City, where she has her Gnostic Kabbalistic epiphany, where she realizes that there is no place like home. And of course, this is her discovery of self. If you watch Wicked, keep your eyes peeled for Ariana Grande Glinda when she appears at the very beginning in the Munchkin City. Her pink dress is also the Fibonacci spiral. And that is an allusion back to the original Wizard of Oz, but that is also, of course, denoting Glinda's and Elifaba's spiritual quest. So again, something to keep your eyes peeled for when you watch it.
Oh no, very cool. I did not pick up on that when I watched it the first time, so I'll have to watch it again and